he said the most beautiful things about me. And he hasn't said bad about me personally, but I'm sure that'll be next. But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
Expected it. No one believed it. But just 1 minute ago, the world's most unpredictable billionaire detonated the biggest shock of the year. Elon Musk, yes, that Elon, walked out of America, slammed the door behind him, and touched down in London with a warning so fierce it sent political shockwaves straight through Downing Street. A message directed at Prime Minister Keir Starmer himself. A message Britain was never supposed to hear. It started as a rumour, just whispers online, scattered posts, a few stunned airport sightings, until suddenly the truth hit like a thunderclap. In the early hours of the morning, a private jet sliced through the grey London sky, landing far from the public terminals surrounded by silent black SUVs. And stepping out was Elon Musk, looking like a man who had left more than a country behind. He had left a fight, a system, a breaking point. Within minutes, London's underground tech circles lit up, screens flashed, phones buzzed. Musk is here. He's not going back. Something massive is coming. But no one knew just how massive until his team delivered an announcement so bold, so wild that even seasoned analysts called it unthinkable. Musk wasn't just relocating, he wasn't just escaping Washington drama, he was launching xAI's new global headquarters. Right in the centre of London, an operation his team described as a complete restructuring of the future of artificial intelligence. A plan so huge it immediately overshadowed everything else happening in Westminster. But then came the real explosion. Minutes after touching down, Musk posted a cryptic message that made Britain's political sphere freeze, a message aimed straight at the Starmer government. No greetings, no diplomacy, just a short, sharp warning about leadership failures, dangerous policies, and a threat that sent shockwaves into every corner of the UK establishment. And then Musk said the 5 words that no one in government ever imagined he would. Starmer needs to step down. The internet didn't just react, it erupted. Newsrooms scrambled. MPs panicked. Advisors rushed into Downing Street while the Prime Minister's team desperately attempted to understand what was unfolding. How did this happen? Why London? Why now? Because Musk wasn't acting alone. Sources close to the situation claimed that global investors had been quietly circling the UK for months, waiting for a moment to move their money away from America's political storms. Musk's arrival, they said, wasn't a relocation, it was a signal, a trigger, a warning that the world's tech and financial power may be preparing to shift across the Atlantic. But if Starmer thought this was just another billionaire tantrum, he was wrong. Very wrong. Behind closed doors, Musk's team was preparing something much bigger, a strategic announcement that would reshape not only the tech landscape, but the political temperature of the United Kingdom. And Downing Street, already rattled, could feel the pressure rising by the minute. Inside the Prime Minister's office, chaos erupted. Some advisors urged Starmer to ignore the provocation. Others insisted he respond immediately. And a few, only a few, whispered something far more dangerous. What if Musk knows something we don't? Because it wasn't just about him quitting America. It wasn't just about xAI moving to London. It was about the timing, and the timing couldn't be ignored. Across the city, reporters gathered outside xAI's temporary headquarters. Security teams tightened their perimeter, and global markets hovered in a state of uncertainty. Musk had just lit a fuse under both Washington and Westminster, and no one could predict where that fuse was leading. What was coming wasn't just a business move, it wasn't just a political jab. It was the start of something bigger, much bigger. And as London braced itself, one question echoed through the city. Why did Elon Musk really come here? And what does he want from Starmer? But the real storm didn't begin at the airport. It began hours later when Musk stepped into a heavily guarded conference room inside a discreet London tower. No cameras, no press, only a handful of hand-picked figures from tech, finance and media. People who shape narratives, move markets and shift national moods without ever appearing on screen. The moment Musk entered, the entire room fell silent. He placed a slim, black folder on the table. No one breathed as he opened it, and then, in that calm, firm voice he's known for, He explained why he had left America behind and why he had chosen the UK as his next battleground. According to insiders, Musk didn't mince words. He spoke about the collapse of innovation in Washington, anti-growth policies, and a political environment he described as toxic for the future of technology. But then he shifted, turning the spotlight directly on Britain, directly on Keir Starmer. And that's when the conversation changed from business to something far more explosive. Musk accused the UK government of sleepwalking into technological decline, pointing to new regulations, stalled AI initiatives, and what he called a leadership model stuck in the past. He claimed that the world was entering a new era, an AI revolution, and Britain was standing still while others moved forward. And then he issued the warning that rattled the entire room. If the UK wants to lead the future, he said, it starts with changing the person at the top. Shock rippled across the table. Some attendees exchanged nervous glances. Others leaned forward, sensing the gravity of what Musk was implying. This wasn't just criticism. This was an open challenge, direct, personal, and dangerous. And Musk wasn't done. He revealed that xAI's London headquarters would not be a branch office, but the global command centre for his next generation of artificial intelligence projects, a move that instantly placed Britain at the forefront of the coming technological war if the government cooperated. If not, Musk added coldly, we take our innovation elsewhere. This was the moment the room realised something. Musk's arrival was not a relocation, it was leverage, a power play, a challenge aimed straight at Downing Street. Within minutes of the meeting ending, messages began flowing quietly to high-level officials across London. Advisors were warned. Economic strategists were alerted. Senior aides were told to prepare for a significant disruption in the national narrative. Meanwhile, inside Number 10, the atmosphere turned electric. Starmer's inner circle scrambled to respond. Should they confront Musk? Should they stay silent? Should they attempt to negotiate behind closed doors? Every option felt risky. Every misstep could make the situation worse. Because Musk wasn't operating like a politician. He wasn't following protocol. He wasn't playing by the rules. He was creating a new story. One where he decided the pace, the tone, the direction. And the British government suddenly found itself reacting, not leading. By mid-afternoon, social media had turned into a battlefield. One side hailed Musk as a visionary, forcing politicians to wake up. Another accused him of interfering in national affairs. But everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever was coming next would be bigger, louder, and impossible to ignore. As night fell, London buzzed with rumours. Some claimed Musk was preparing a televised statement. Others whispered he had evidence of government failures he planned to expose. A few believed he was coordinating with foreign investors to pressure the UK into bending to his demands, but none of them knew the truth. Musk had already drafted his next move, and it was about to hit like a thunderbolt. As dawn broke over London the next morning, the city felt different, tense, alert, as though everyone sensed something heavy in the air. Overnight, Musk had completely vanished from public view. No posts, no leaks, no sightings. A silence that felt too intentional. Because whenever Elon Musk goes quiet, the world knows he's planning something monumental. And just before 6 a.m, the first tremor hit. A mysterious countdown appeared across every official xAI platform. No explanation, no context, only a stark ticking clock and the words, "The future will not wait." Within seconds, the internet exploded. Analysts rushed into studios. Tech experts speculated wildly. Even government officials began dialing phones, demanding answers they didn't have. Inside Downing Street, frustration turned into fear. Starmer's team had spent the entire night preparing statements, drafting responses, and analysing Musk's sudden arrival. But no one expected a countdown. No one expected a global broadcast. And no one expected Musk to escalate the situation so quickly. Suddenly, intelligence officials were pulled into emergency calls. Was Musk planning to reveal something damaging? Was he preparing to expose private government documents? Or was this all an elaborate tactic to pressure the UK into bending to his will? The problem was simple and terrifying, no one knew. But the tension didn't end there. By mid-morning, London's financial district began to tremble. Several major investors, quietly influenced by Musk's relocation, started shifting funds, withdrawing support from long-standing UK projects and redirecting capital toward xAI's new London base. It wasn't a full-scale financial shock, but it was enough to make government screens flash red. Inside the Treasury, alarms weren't just ringing, they were screaming. And then came the leak. A confidential memo sent between senior government advisors somehow made its way onto the internet. The message was short, panicked, and brutally honest. If Musk's demands gain public momentum, the Prime Minister may not withstand the pressure. The moment that memo went viral, the entire nation seemed to inhale sharply. Commentators called it the most destabilising moment of Starmer's leadership. Opposition MPs took it as a signal to attack. Social media turned into a firestorm of speculation, theories and anger. Was Musk actually trying to remove a sitting Prime Minister? Was this a power move or a revolution? And most importantly, what would the countdown reveal? As the clock ticked down, Musk's silence became louder than any speech. People gathered outside the temporary xAI headquarters, waiting for even the smallest hint of movement. Cameras lined the streets. Helicopters hovered overhead. Even foreign governments began issuing cautious statements, watching Britain with wary interest. Inside the building, however, the atmosphere was ice cold. Musk's core team streamed into a secure strategy room, each one carrying sealed tablets and encrypted communication devices. They were preparing something tightly controlled, meticulously planned, and deliberately timed. A moment designed to disrupt, shock, and force the world to pay attention. Sources described the mood in that room as electric, the sense that they were standing at the edge of a global reset. And controlling that reset was Elon Musk himself. Meanwhile, in Downing Street, Starmer faced the toughest morning of his premiership. Advisors surrounded him, papers piled on the table, screens displaying endless commentary about his leadership. Every path forward looked dangerous. Every decision had the potential to ignite the situation further. One advisor dared to speak bluntly, "If Musk turns public sentiment against you, we won't be able to contain it." And that was the fear gripping number 10, the fear that Musk's global influence, combined with the public's growing frustration, could form a tidal wave powerful enough to shake the government to its core. The tension built, the countdown dropped from hours to minutes, and somewhere inside that London tower, Musk prepared to address not just Britain, but the world. The fuse was burning fast, and the explosion was seconds away. The final minutes of the countdown felt like hours. All across Britain, offices, homes, cafes, train stations, people stared at their screens, waiting, guessing, bracing. Even the silence carried weight. And when that clock hit the last 20 seconds, the world seemed to stop. The numbers flashed. 20, 19, 18. And in those seconds, London held its breath. Then the screen went black. Total darkness, no logo, no message, nothing. Confusion spread like wildfire. People leaned closer to their devices. News presenters froze mid-sentence. Government officials demanded emergency updates. And then, slowly, a single white line appeared. Bright, sharp, and stretching across the screen like a crack in reality. A voice followed. Calm, confident. Unmistakably, Elon Musk. He spoke of disruption, of innovation, of governments stuck in decades-old systems while the world raced ahead. But halfway through the message, his tone shifted, dropping into something colder, more pointed, more dangerous. And that was when he turned directly to Britain. Leadership, he said, is not about holding a title. It's about earning trust. And right now, the UK risks losing its place in the future because of decisions made at the very top. The room inside number 10 went silent. Advisors stared at the screen as if watching a disaster unfold in slow motion. But Musk wasn't finished. He began unveiling a new xAI initiative, one that he claimed could revolutionise healthcare, security, transportation and national infrastructure, a system capable of boosting the UK economy in ways the government had only dreamed of, a technology powerful enough to reshape the country's global standing. But there was a catch, he said it plainly. without hesitation. This level of progress cannot happen under the current leadership. Britain needs someone who understands technology, ambition, and the future. Someone who won't block innovation with outdated rules and political fear. The reaction was immediate and explosive. In Parliament, MPs erupted in outrage, some shouting that Musk had crossed a line, others whispering that he might be right. In the media, commentators split into factions, some warning that Musk's influence was becoming dangerous, others praising him for saying what many were thinking but didn't dare to voice. But the real panic surged through the Prime Minister's office. Phones rang non-stop, staff scrambled across hallways, security teams monitored public reactions in real time. Several senior officials argued that Musk's message amounted to a direct challenge to the government, an attempt to shift public opinion at a critical moment. And then came the surge. Within minutes, social media exploded with a wave of support for Musk's demands. His message spread across platforms at a speed no political leader could match. Tens of thousands of people began posting their own frustrations with the government, amplifying the chaos. For the first time since taking office, Starmer felt the ground shaking beneath him. But what no one outside that xAI tower knew was that Musk had prepared one more move. Something even more shocking, even more destabilising, even more impossible for the government to ignore. As Musk's message ended, the screen faded again. Another countdown appeared, smaller, quieter, but far more ominous. Next phase, 24 hours, confusion turned into dread. What was the next phase? What else could Musk possibly reveal? Was this a threat, a plan, a strategy? No one had answers, not even the analysts who had spent years studying Musk's unpredictable behaviour. Inside Downing Street, Starmer's advisors immediately called for emergency meetings. Some urged him to confront Musk directly, others warned that responding publicly would only empower him, and a few quietly suggested that the Prime Minister should consider a private negotiation, anything to prevent the situation from spiralling further. Because the truth was unavoidable, Musk now controlled the narrative, and wherever he was leading this, Britain was being dragged behind him. The next 24 hours would determine everything: the government's stability, the public's trust, and the future of xAI's power inside the UK. And as London plunged into a night of fear, speculation, and rapidly growing tension, one thing became clear: Musk wasn't backing down. He was escalating. The next 24 hours unfolded like a tightening vice around the heart of the British government. Every hour brought a new shock, a new rumour, a new wave of uncertainty sweeping across the country. London's streets felt heavier, as though the tension in the air was thick enough to see. The mysterious next phase countdown loomed over the nation like a storm cloud ready to break. And inside number 10 Downing Street, the atmosphere had shifted from panic to something even more dangerous. Silence. Not the calm type of silence, the kind that comes before an earthquake. At exactly 5 p.m, the countdown hit 0. Millions of screens blinked to black once again. News studios cut their broadcasts mid-sentence. Parliament froze in place. The public stood still, eyes locked, waiting for the next move in a drama that had spiralled far beyond politics or technology. This had become a test of power, raw, unfiltered, global power. The black screen lingered for several long seconds, long enough to make the entire country restless. Then a new image appeared. A map of the United Kingdom glowing faintly in dark blue. One by one, regions lit up as lines of data pulsed across the display. Transportation grids, energy networks, communication systems, digital infrastructure, layers of Britain's inner workings exposed like a heartbeat under a scanner. A single sentence rose slowly across the screen. The future is at risk. Then Musk's voice returned. But this time, he wasn't calm, he wasn't measured. He sounded like a man who had seen too much, waited too long, and finally decided to unleash everything. He revealed reports and analyses prepared by xAI's team claiming that Britain's digital infrastructure was dangerously outdated and vulnerable. He warned that without immediate modernisation, the country could fall behind the rest of the world in ways that would take decades to reverse. And then, In a move that shocked even his closest followers, he announced that xAI was prepared to aid.